Hello and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Atlanta's Movers and Shakers. I am your host, Mandisa Johnson. Today we are having a conversation with actor, comedian, public speaker, correspondent, and fill-in host for WXIA's 11 Alive's daily lifestyle program, Atlanta and Company, Andrew Tyree. Hi, Andrew. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a little dreary outside, but that's okay. The energy's good on the inside, and I'm feeling very, energized and triumphant today, despite my week.
Right. I'm glad to hear that. Can you share with us about who you are and what you do in film and TV?
Yeah. So you said my name. My name's Andrew Tyree. I recently moved here to Atlanta from Los Angeles. Before that, I lived in New York. I went to school in New York for film and for theater. So I was an actor first. Spent a long time doing that in New York, a long time doing that in LA. I used to write for a long time. I did spoken word on big stages, Broadway, and traveled with some pretty cool artists. Ended up kind of landing in hosting. Hosting kind of found me. Started hosting a real estate TV show on VH1. Then moved to another show on Amazon Prime and Apple TV called Beyond the Block. Did that for 3 seasons. Hosted some shows for the Tennis Channel, and it just moving and shaking all over the place. And then landed here in Atlanta as the correspondent and fill-in host for the daily lifestyle show Atlanta and Company on NBC, WXIA, and that is what I do. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I like cookies. All the good stuff.
Right. So can you take us on your journey of how you started to where you are today?
Yeah, that was kind of it. I kind of always knew that I wanted to be in entertainment. I'm a creative. Like I can't sit behind a desk, even though I'm sitting behind a desk now, but you get it.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't want to have to ask if I can go to the bathroom,
Hmm.
So I was always determined to figure out how to make it work. And so there was not, and people say this all the time, but there wasn't a plan B. Now, here's what I will say. My caveat to there not being a plan B is there are a lot of plan A minuses.
I like
So,
that.
so, I've worked a lot of jobs in between gigs. You're on the TV. I mean, even after I have been on big TV shows, you're on a big TV show, you're making a lot of money, and you're out of work for 6 months. Sometimes you got to go and bust some tables. You got to go weigh some tables. You have to figure it out. So I've worked in factories. I've, driven ride service. I've worked in restaurants. I've done everything under the sun until I got to a place where I didn't have to do that anymore. So while there wasn't a plan B, it was a lot of A minuses, a
Okay.
lot of A minuses in there.
I like that. A lot of A minuses. Did your
Mhm.
parents recognize your love of the arts? And if so, how did they nourish your gift to facilitate growth?
Um, that's very funny. No,
Okay.
my dad uh, probably thinks you know, art is a waste of time. Like I don't know. I don't know. He's never been like, oh man, like you're really like that's really amazing that you're doing that. I'm like, hey, you want to hear a monologue? And he's like, what? He's like, let's barbecue. My dad is very, you know, he's not the artsy side of his brain never turned on, which is fine. My mom, it was less of recognizing that I was an artist and more of like forcing me to become an artist.
Hmm.
So my mom put me in all types of dance and tap when I was really young. I'm talking 3, 4 years old. Like I was in tap and I was in dance, and she just wanted to make sure that I was always busy. I remember I used to do the ribbon thing, and then one summer I was doing art. I I'm terrible at visual art. We found that out very quickly. I can't draw, I can't sculpt, I can't do anything. So, but we did that for a summer, and then I was martial arts for a lot of years, and at 5, I discovered violin. Like I brought home a flyer. They were giving free violin lessons at my school, and I was like, oh, I want to play the violin. So my mother found a way to like rent me a Suzuki violin. and I played classical violin for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I played for the Milwaukee Youth Symphony Orchestra. I got a scholarship there when I was super young. And that was a fight too because I wouldn't want to practice as much as I should be. My mother would be like, "Nah, I spent this money on this violin. You're gonna go in
Right.
there, you gonna strum them strings. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna strum them strings." And then I would perform, and they would be my mother would come to the rehearsal to the practices when we were playing violin, and she would sit there and watch me because I was the youngest one in there. I was the only little black kid in there, and so she was watching me. She was watching out for me, and she was watching me. And we'd be playing the violin, and the teacher would be like, "Who wants a solo? Who wants to audition for a solo?" I I don't want to audition for a solo. And you would see my mother like peer around somebody like, "Boy, you better raise your hand." And I'd be like, "Guess I guess." But that got me out of my comfort zone. That got me to a place
Wow.
where like I enjoyed being in the front of the stage. I enjoyed working hard on my craft to the point where it was presentable and people enjoyed it. And yeah, so less of recognizing my talent, more of like force feeding me.
Wow. So you did the ribbons.
I did everything, man. Editing.
Ribbons and the violin. I used to play the violin, but I wasn't like classical like you were. I was ooh, barely making it on the violin, but I
Yeah.
did play in the fourth grade.
There you go. There you go.
So we're going to take a break, but we'll be right back.
Let's sit down for a meal and conversation. All are invited to the table to hear the message of inspiration and hope from small business owners across the country as we celebrate diversity in culture and cuisine. Welcome to Food Coma, Conversations Over Meals in America, hosted by Cynthia McAllister. Do you need exposure for your business, brand, or organization? If so, let Food Coma, Conversations Over Meals in America radio show help you fulfill your need for more exposure, more business, and return on investment. Connect with me at admin@qualitysap.com today.
Welcome back to Conversations with Atlanta's Movers and Shakers. I am your host, Mandisa Johnson. Today we are having a conversation with Andrew Tyree. What is your most favorite thing about acting and or hosting?
um, I think it's the same thing as, when I'm playing sports. I like to consider myself like active and somewhat of an athlete. And when you're out there, it's all you're doing. Like nothing else is happening. Whatever other cares you got going on, whatever you were worried about before you stepped on set, before you stepped on the stage, it's no longer there. I've worked in places where like I really didn't like the environment. I really didn't like the people I worked with, the producers, the folks around. But while I was working on camera, while I was doing my thing, like it
Mm,
wasn't there. I was able to go to a place um, where I was so consumed with what was happening. I was so consumed with the character I was supposed to be portraying. I was so consumed with putting on a good show that you get to leave. You get to
mm.
escape, you know, and then uh, selfishly and narcissistically, like you get to go back and watch something. You have something that you can see when the work is done, and not everybody has that. A lot of professions don't get that. You do the work, and then the work's done, and somebody else takes credit, or you lose it, or whatever the case would be. But not with this.
Wow, I like that answer. So can you talk about a time when you faced rejection or criticism in your career and how you overcame it?
Every day. I mean, some people just don't know. Some people, everybody, you're not everybody's cup of tea. So the really interesting thing about this job is like you can never get too high. Like you can never feel too lofty about yourself because the next audition you go on, they might tell you something completely different. I've done a 3-year show where we've won awards and we kept getting renewed and everything was great. And then that show ended, and I went on a string of auditions where they were just like, "Nah, you're not it."
Mm.
Who's not it? Me? I'm it. You talk to the people from the last show. You ain't talk to them. And so every day. But like I said, there's no plan B because it's not that I couldn't do a plan B, but I wouldn't be happy. It
Mm.
wouldn't last. I could go get an office job, but I would hate it. The clicking of the keyboard would drive me insane. The fluorescent lighting would just tear
Oh,
me apart. So like it doesn't matter. Like you just get up. Like you take your time. My friend Kareem Grimes, he's an actor on All American right now. Really good friend of mine. I feel like he coined the term. He's the first person I heard use the term. You just leave it in the room. Like you go, you do your thing, leave it, win, lose, or draw. You leave it in the room. And that's a good muscle to exercise no matter what. And I think my upbringing, the way I was brought up, actually helps me to be able to do that. So.
wow, that's good. So can you share a pivotal moment in your career that significantly shaped your path as a host and an actor?
Um, yeah, I take pretty big. I've always taken pretty big leaps, and I think that I get that from from my mom. My plan was to graduate high school, and I wasn't planning on going to college,
Hmm.
and I wasn't I wasn't planning on doing anything. I was I was in I was in theater in high school, and I was also getting into trouble. I had gotten locked up a couple times. I was fighting a lot. I was getting in a lot of trouble, and I remember I just so happened to be. Uh, I got locked up in jail. I never went to prison, but I went to jail, and the CO in the jail just happened to be a deacon at the church I was going to,
Oh wow. Oh wow.
St. Louis, Missouri. Go figure. And he, sat me down and he was like, "Man, like, you're at a crossroads. You have a decision to make here." And luckily, I listened. Soon after that, I went to New York, and I moved to New York with no plan or job or money. I just went, and I found my way in New York. I ended up getting into school on a scholarship, on an acting scholarship, and when I was done with New York, I was like, I'm going to LA, and I had no money either. I was thinking I went to LA, I moved to LA with like $600, and so these moments of like when something gets in my head and I feel like I'm supposed to do it, I can only fight it for so long. I can only go like, that's not smart for so long. At some point, my body is just going to be like, go, and it's just going to show me, and I'm gonna do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I think taking those jumps helped a lot.
Wow. That's good. And I have some similarities there. So what would be a piece of advice you would have for a graduating high schooler looking to pursue a career in either as an actor and or a host?
Unfortunately, I don't have anything new or fresh to say, but here's what I will say. You're so lucky. I know I look young and spry. I know the skin still looks good, but I'm middle aged. You understand? And so when I was coming up, you had to wait to be chosen.
Mm-hmm.
You had to continue to present yourself until somebody chose you. You don't have to do that anymore. You can take the same phone that you got in your hand. You can grab some friends. You can do it by yourself, and you can write a movie, make a movie, score a movie. You can shoot it. You can distribute it. You can put it on YouTube. You can do it all yourself. So you can't tell me that it's hard, or you can't tell me that you really want it and things aren't happening because you have everything you need to do it. Whereas before, you literally have to wait. You had to get a headshot. You had to, you know what I mean? You had to wait on the casting director to call you. You had to go to open calls in New York where there were 400 people out there singing. And if you made it past the singing, then you had to do the dancing. If you made it past the dancing, you had to do the monologue. And if you made it past the monologue, bruh, you know what I mean? This was real life. And that's not the case anymore. I mean, you still have to audition, but like you can audition from your living room now. So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so my advice to high school would be just do it. Don't let fear paralyze you. Don't let the want for perfection paralyze you. Just do it and just put it out. Just put it out.
That was a good answer. So this next question kind of ties in, but for those who are kind of already in the industry, but do you have any gems you would like to share? GEM stands for Great Educational Moments with Movers and Shakers.
Yeah, I mean, we can pivot off the same thing. It's like I I had a, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Tom Hanks years ago, and it wasn't on set. We didn't do anything together. I just ran into him at a restaurant and like
Um,
ran up on him while he was waiting for his car, and he was so nice. He was with his wife, he was with his son, and I was just like, "Excuse me, like I'm an actor, and I just am a big fan. Do you have any advice for me?" So I will tell you guys the same advice, the same thing that he told me. He told me that he thought he was out of his acting group. He thought he was the least talented actor out of the bunch.
wow.
And he said the only reason that he made it was because he stayed. He
Mm.
didn't quit. He didn't quit. If you want to know why people make it, like that's it. They just don't quit. I love those posts that actually show the ages of successful people when they make it.
Mhm.
41, 45, 54, 62. And you're like, "Oh, snap. I thought they had been crushing it their whole life." No, no, no. They
Oh,
just they just didn't quit. They just didn't quit. So that would be my gem.
that was a great gem. So do you have anything else you'd like to share?
Um, No, we're working. So if you're in the Atlanta area, please watch Atlanta and Company. We're on every day at noon. Please follow me on social media. My TikTok is hosted by underscore Andrew Tyree. That's also my Instagram. That's also my YouTube. And I do a bi-weekly show on TikTok. We're actually just starting it this week. It's called Concepts of a Show. Um, and it's late night talk show style with great guests and news headlines and all the good things. So just link up. We doing fun stuff over here.
Yes, thank you. And that was my last question. How can people connect with you? But you beat me to it. So
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, hosted by underscore Andrew Tyree.
thank you for answering a few questions for us, and thank you for joining us. For more conversations, be sure to subscribe to AtlantaFilmingTV.com and follow us on Instagram at AtlantaFilmingTV. Until next time, I'm Mandisa Johnson. Take care.